Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Caroline Carlman about her ceremony at the Wedding Pavilion with a reception at St. Augustine C and D at the Grand Floridian Convention Center. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Caroline.
Hey, Carrie. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiancé decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
That's a great question. I'll start with my journey at Disney. I have been a huge fan ever since my mom took me for my college graduation trip. So we love Disney. We try to go, once or twice per year. We're DVC members. We have been for the past, 10 or so years. So we go there a lot. It's just a special place for us. And once I started dating my husband, Matt, it was something special that I could share with him as well. We actually ended up getting engaged there. He proposed to me outside of the Wedding Pavilion, and, we had a nice romantic dinner and had a lovely, New Year's trip getting engaged. So it was just a really special place to us. When we were looking for places to get married, we thought Disney would be the perfect place just because everything is so a la carte. There's so many options all around property in terms of what you're looking for, style. I feel like they can accommodate all different kinds of budget. So the entry point just seemed really easy working, with Disney, and it turned out to be a really great decision. So that's kind of how we landed on that. And we wanted something really different too and unique. I mean, not many people can say that they have fireworks at their wedding. It just felt like really special. So that's kind of what we were looking for. And we were able to find that at Disney.
That's awesome. So now, how did your friends and family react when they found out where the wedding was going to be?
I think it was mixed. No surprises on my end. I think my family knows how much I love Disney. I think all my friends do as well. They always see me posting pictures of, all my trips there. On Matt's side, a little bit different. I think his family and his friends were a little bit more surprised. It was definitely a mix. But I think overall excitement. Our friends were all so excited to come down. We don't have a lot of friends that go to Disney often. Many of them hadn't been since they were kids or had never been at all. So everybody was just so excited to come experience a place that we really love and be able to kind of share that with them. So I'd say overall excitement. Obviously we had, grandparents that were able to travel and make the trip. So, we tried to do something kind of special for them after. But yeah, unfortunately, that was kind of the only downside, I guess, of going to Disney, was having some people not able to travel. But I'd say overall, for the most part, excitement.
That's wonderful. How many guests did you invite and how many were able to make the trip?
We knew we kind of wanted a smaller, kind of more intimate wedding, especially compared to some of our friends that were having, 150, 200, 250 at their weddings. We decided to invite 90. We had about 80 people say yes, which was great. Everybody was super enthusiastic about coming. Unfortunately, we had some last minute dropouts. So I think we ended somewhere about 75 people showed up on the day. So we had a good group. I would say that was the perfect wedding size, exactly where we wanted to land. So we were lucky.
That's great. Did you set up a room block for your guests?
Yes, we did. We definitely wanted our guests to have the whole Disney experience and really be on property and feel like they had the Disney bubble experience like we are so used to when we stay there. I've actually never stayed off property. So we knew that we wanted our reception and our ceremony day to be, centered around the Grand Floridian, and that's where we would be getting ready. So we picked the Grand Floridian as one of our hotels. Knowing that was really expensive, we tried to kind of pick a couple other hotels that were a little bit less expensive. So we picked the Contemporary. It's not a favorite resort of mine, to be completely honest, but in terms of proximity to the Grand Floridian, it was a much better rate. So we did choose the contemporary, so guests could have that monorail access and convenience. And then we also chose Coronado Springs, which was another popular choice. So we were able to kind of choose both the tower and the standard rooms. So we had a lot of friends stay in the tower rooms, which are absolutely beautiful. So those were kind of our three choices. And even Matt and I were able to pick a suite on the room block as well at the Grand Floridian. So that was nice that we got a nice discounted room rate there. Guests really loved having the room block. Like I felt like I was hearing mixed things when we were kind of deciding whether or not to do a room block. But the Disney folks, whether a lot of our guests called for help, and I felt like I didn't have to think about anything. Like I barely got any questions from my guests. They were able to kind of use that online tool to book or call if they had any questions. So that was just made my life very easy. We had 75 guests and we had about 77 room nights picked up off the room block. So we had a lot of people stay there and do a couple nights.
That's wonderful. Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that everybody was able to come in and be there for the wedding and not have to stress about like taking time off of work. And, same for me and Matt. We both kind of work 9 to 5 jobs, Monday through Friday. So we decided to request a weekend wedding. We always kind of knew we wanted a Saturday wedding. So that was what we opted for. We actually in the lottery, they gave us Friday night the first time we were in the lottery. So we decided to kind of keep trying until we were able to get a Saturday time slot. So we ended up with a really good date though. So it all worked out. But yeah, we picked that Saturday so guests didn't feel like they had to take time off from work to come travel for our wedding. We're from the greater Boston area. So we knew that, most of our guests, if not all of our guests, were getting on plane to come down and spend time with us. So we wanted to be respectful of that as well.
That's great. And how did you choose the time of day?
That's an interesting thing. We kind of went back and forth. I'm not a morning person. So we kind of ended up with 2:30 was kind of the optimal time for us. And that's kind of how we ran with it. It was beautiful. We got some great daytime pictures. We loved like having the daylight, and full sun and blue skies. And it was a great time of day to get married. We didn't feel like we had to get up super early to get ready. I think, Stacy, our hair and makeup person kind of came around like 7:30, 8 o'clock on the day of the wedding. So we got some nice beauty sleep and didn't feel like anything was rushed having that time of day. And we also like got to end, not super late. I think we went until like 10:30. And so we were all in bed at a great time too. So it felt like the perfect time of day for us, really.
I know a lot of people get scared about having to go into a lottery for the date they want. It usually only happens when you want a popular venue like the Wedding Pavilion and a popular day like Saturday. Can you talk a little bit about what choices you submitted and then what you changed so that you could get the combination you were looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we had originally wanted I think it was like the last weekend in April. We really wanted like a spring gardeny wedding. So that kind of time of the year felt perfect. So we had opted for that wedding pavilion slot at 2:30. And what happens with the lottery system is essentially our Disney consultant kind of said, great, give us your top preference and give us some backup options. We didn't really have too many backup options. Like we really knew we wanted the wedding pavilion and we wanted the Saturday. So we kind of knew that we were going to keep trying until we could get our date. So unfortunately, they came back with a Friday time slot, I think at like 5:30. And that just, we were a little bit bummed about that. But having moved it a week, we got Saturday, May 4th. And we were able to get that 2:30 time slot. So it really worked out. We had kind of heard from Disney that was a really, really popular date to get married and highly coveted. So we didn't really expect to get that date, but we were so happy it worked out that way. And it just ended up being a better time of the year to go anyway. We got a lot more out of our DVC points. The point rates are much cheaper to book in May than April. So that was a total bonus for us. And it worked out. Like we are huge Star Wars nerds as well. So it felt like fate. It felt like fate that we had got that date. And the process was super easy. They let you kind of know either that day if you've gotten the date, or if it's on a weekend like ours, they'll let you know, on Monday right away, kind of what your time slot is that you get.
That's fantastic. Now, how did you guys choose your ceremony and reception venues?
Yeah, so like I said, we got engaged right outside of the wedding pavilion. It was just, it's such a beautiful space right on the water there with the view of the castle in the background. It's very magical. We actually picked it though before even having like physically been inside of it. So it was even like more awesome after having picked it and seeing it and just, seeing how beautiful it is. We love the Magic Kingdom area. Grand Floridian is very special to us. That's where we own some of our DVC points there in the Polynesian. So we often stay over that way when we do our Disney trips. We love the restaurants there too and just the vibe. It felt like it fit the style of the wedding that we wanted to have. Even our color palette is very like, the Grand Floridian renovation palette. It has like, blues and pinks and like muted navies. And we wanted to kind of feel like we had a garden party wedding. And so that kind of whole vibe at the Grand Floridian really fit our style. So that's how we really picked it. We also wanted to make sure that the ceremony was close to the reception. And so being at the pavilion, you have that proximity. Our guests were able to kind of walk from one venue to the next and then even have our dessert party with the happily ever after fireworks party after the reception. So it all really worked out. It just felt like, it came down to our own preferences plus convenience of our guests having to be able to like spend the whole day there was awesome and just easy. I didn't want to move guests around and have to worry about all those logistics. So it felt like the right choice for us. And we knew that we didn't have any interest in like having like a park wedding. My husband and I always joke that we had like a wedding at Disney, not a Disney wedding. We wanted like a normal like reception as much as possible and traditional. But we were able to kind of incorporate some of those like magical touches that Disney really offers. The way that we did incorporate the parks though was that, we did decide to have that EPCOT fireworks dessert party the night before as our welcome party. So that was like a really, really fun day for guests to really, really like experience the whole, vibe of Disney, getting to see the fireworks. Then we did our ride mix-in at Guardians of the Galaxy, which is Matt and I's absolute favorite ride. So it was so great to be able to kind of like let our guests who are not Disney people, they haven't been to Disney, really be able to experience that. It was so funny. Like everybody coming off the ride was just like their jaw was on the floor and they were just, smiling ear to ear. So it was really fun. And I would say like our final venue is we knew we wanted to do something at Trader Sam's. So we actually had our rehearsal lunch there for a welcome party. And that was pretty small and intimate. You can only invite up to 25 guests there, including the couple. So it was a perfect size, though, for all of our close, immediate family and close friends that were like involved in our wedding party or involved in the ceremony somehow. So we got kind of another kind of touch of uniquely Disney kind of doing our rehearsal lunch there. So those are kind of like some of our favorite places on property. So we're really happy that we were able to incorporate everything into our weekend.
Fantastic. Did you use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
Yes. One of the reasons why we wanted to work with Disney, right, is because they offer everything end to end. Like if you really want to work with Disney for everything, you can. So we came in with that mentality of wanting to work with Disney like as much as we could just to make everything like super easy and simple. But when we started to do some research and we started to get some prices from Disney, on chairs and, certain decor elements like chargers and uplighting and, pipe and drape, the prices just seemed pretty high, to be completely honest. And so we had started to kind of look for external vendors. We found Longwood Events and they were able to do the pipe and drape for us, the uplighting, and our chairs. So we used them for that. And I would say the prices were about like 2 to 5x cheaper than Disney. And so we're able to save a little bit of money and cost there. We also knew we wanted to use a vendor called Wouldn't It Be Lovely for our wedding stationery. And we knew that we would need somebody to help set that all up for us. Wouldn't It Be Lovely has wonderful, signage, and we kind of had like a whole cohesive package with them. And so we loved our wedding invite so much that it felt like we wanted to keep working with them versus Disney's like design process on signage is a little bit, it wasn't really for me. I guess I'll just put it that way. I wanted to be really involved in the design process. And so with Wouldn't It Be Lovely, their approach is very customized. So it was great to be able to work with them. And having said that, we really needed somebody to help us set up all those kind of, additional decor elements. So that's when we hired our day of coordinator, Catherine Martell. Her and her team, Sam, they were both awesome. And so they really were like our day of people to really help us feel at ease and help us set up everything, coordinate with Longwood, make sure that they got everything in place, set up all our signage and our additional decor elements. So like our table numbers and seating chart and things like that. So we had Catherine for that. We also went external for photography and videography. So we had Captured by Elle for both. And so we had a great package with her. We immediately really vibed with her. And I just love like the style of her photos. You really know what you're getting with Elle. Like the quality is really awesome. And she's a great person to work with and was super helpful in terms of like helping us with her timeline. And she even was making, recommendations on DJs. And we really, really vibed with her. And we even did like an engagement shoot with her beforehand to kind of get comfortable and really meet her before our big day. So she was amazing. We had Stacy Otto for hair and makeup. She was wonderful as well. Such a great person. She also helped us out for our engagement photo shoot too. So we were able to come down to Disney and meet her before our wedding. So we had some great vendors. And then we also had Evers After by Randy Clark. She was our officiant. So she was wonderful as well. One of our most like proactive, I feel like I can't even call her a vendor. She was like, became like a friend to us. She was so proactive and, we really reaching out and making sure that we were good and we had everything we needed. And she was there for any questions. She wrote our ceremony in like one take and it was perfect. No notes. She came to like our rehearsal lunch and she did a beautiful ceremony. So we were really happy we found her. But overall, like we had the best external vendors ever. Like absolutely no complaints. Just loved working with everybody.
That's fantastic. Did you add any kind of entertainment to the ceremony or the reception? You mentioned a DJ.
Yeah, we had Willie Lugo was our DJ. He was awesome. He really like understood our assignment. We're like, we don't want any like cliche games or like we don't need you to be on the mic, yelling at our guests, and everybody just loves music. They're going to have a great time. Most of the people at the wedding were like in their 30s, ready to go, ready to have a fun time. So we kind of gave him like, I love music. And, so we're like a little bit of music snobs and so we gave him like a playlist of like 90 songs, but he mixed everything and, he even added in some of his own remixes and, people loved him. Like people were on the dance floor all night and we had a blast. So we had him for, our DJ. We didn't really do a lot of entertainment. Like it felt like the day just like moved so fast. Like never once was anybody bored. It was like constant. It felt like constant stimulation and entertainment. We did have a string trio at our cocktail hour. So we did our cocktail hour before heading into the St. Augustine ballroom. We did our cocktail hour out at the marina. And so we had a string trio. We wanted to incorporate like themes of Star Wars in tasteful kind of ways and into our day. And so we had the string trio kind of like playing Star Wars classic songs. And, we kind of told them to play like Taylor Swift and like Bridgerton vibes. And so they kind of brought that to the cocktail hour, which I think is a nice add-on, right? Because there's no music out there. And so we wanted to make sure our guests were kind of entertained at the cocktail hour. But other than that, I mean, obviously we had the happily ever after fireworks at our dessert party. I mean, what more could you need, than fireworks? So it felt like our guests were always entertained. So that was really what we went with.
That's wonderful. Do you have any menu items or cake flavors you would recommend?
Yes, we love food. So the food was also like, I cannot say enough good things about the food at Trader Sam's. Oh my God. It was just like, they just put a plate of food nonstop in front of you and everything was just so delicious. And we did like the standard menu that they offer there. So nothing crazy or unique. But we got some great, like, great Disney style food that is associated with like the Polynesian And then, so for our wedding, we did decide to do some custom menu. We did a full plated menu, 4-course food option, and we really wanted to incorporate some of our favorite Disney restaurants like Citricos and Narcoossee's and California Grill, Yachtsman Steakhouse. And so we were looking through all of those menus, thinking about all of our favorite meals we've had on property. And the chef was really able to kind of create exactly what we had asked for. So we did like a butter poached cobia that was inspired from the Citricos menu. And it was awesome. Like, I don't think I ever would be like, ooh, yeah, like give me the fish choice at the wedding, but it was awesome. It tasted so great. We did like a cauliflower steak from, I think it was from the Yachtsman Steakhouse menu, for our vegetarian option. And then we loved the short rib, beef option. That was great. And that was something that we came in and had the tasting that we were like, ooh, we really want that on our menu. So they were able to make that happen. And then other than that, I'd say for the cake flavors, everybody like really talks up like interesting flavors like lemonade cake and, lavender and blueberries. And we had tried all of the fun, flavors at the cake tasting that we did. And we really gravitated to the more traditional flavors. So we did a carrot cake and a red velvet cake with cream cheese frosting, which was like both of the slices were out of this world. They were delicious. So highly recommend those choices. I don't hear them I don't think they're super popular, but we loved them.
Now, for your Trader Sam's event, did you pay to have the bar effects turned on during your event?
Yeah, I know. I guess you asked about entertainment and Trader Sam's is, if you've ever been there, very entertaining because they have, special effects and bartenders that get like really into like, when you order this drink, they have like a certain reaction, and they're super, super interactive bartenders. So we knew that we definitely wanted to have that. And like I said, like a lot of our family members, our close friends, had never been to Disney or hadn't been in a while since they were kids. So again, we wanted to give them that like Disney experience and make sure that they had kind of that entertainment. So we did decide to add on the bar package. We did kind of the full 2 hours of the event with the bar package. It is very expensive, and it is kind of expensive to rent Trader Sam's in general, but it was so worth it. Like, we had a blast with the bartenders. They were all great. You can order any of the specialty drinks. They do get kind of like served in the specialty mugs. Obviously you don't take them home. But everything was pretty much the same as if you are going there at night for a drink. We even got to, like, my uncle was late to the rehearsal lunch. So we said, like, hey, what's the most embarrassing drink to order? Like, how can we kind of like get him back for being late and, and call him out a little bit. And so we ordered him the Nautilus, and, they put like pool floaties on him, and, we're spraying water, and like, it was a really funny memory to just have that. So it was a great way to like kick off our whole events and wedding weekend. And, people just loved the Friday of our wedding. It was so much fun.
Now, for your welcome party that you had at EPCOT, what venue did you choose?
We loved the look of Terrace de Fleurs attached to kind of EPCOT France. It was the Flower and Garden Festival when we had our wedding. And so we knew there was going to be like flowers set up and it was going to be beautiful. But there's something like special about that area that has like kind of that like centerpiece floral element that, you don't get at a lot of wedding venues when you're out there in the wild. But we loved that venue. We also loved the view of the fireworks, and we love kind of that. If you've ever seen photos from Terrace de Fleurs, there is like a lower arm there that you can actually add it on. We chose not to and just kind of chance it that we would get to kind of use that space for photos, which we did. So I love the look of the photos there. And it was just a really nice like space, and it never felt like we were on top of any of the other park guests. Like, it really felt like we had a nice, like closed off space that felt really like intimate and really just for us and our party. So, it was that was like our top choice, and we were able to get that right away.
That's wonderful. Do you have any menu items from your welcome party or from the dessert party at the marina that you would recommend?
Yeah, so we went with a standard harmonious menu for the welcome party. We went back and forth of whether we wanted to kind of add like savory and make sure that people were well fed. But A lot of our friends like ate dinner before coming to the welcome party. It is like at 8 o'clock, so it is a little bit later. So we didn't feel like we had to have kind of like a full menu of food, but the harmonious menu was really dessert centric, and it gave a little bit of like the EPCOT vibe of having something from each country. So it was a nice menu, and we made sure like having an open bar throughout our entire event was something that was really important to us as well. So we did a couple specialty drinks. We kind of named them after our cats. We had some fun signage with our cats on it. So we had the Percy Paloma is one of my cat's name. And then we did the Coffee Cat, which was like an espresso martini. So our guests really liked having those specialty drink options. And then for the after party at the marina, we actually we did have kind of the novelty like Mickey ice cream bars, and we had popsicles. But we also knew that, it was a long day of an event. Like we knew our guests would be drinking at the open bar. And so we wanted to do some more greasy food. So we did chicken fingers and like a potato barrel bar. And like, honestly, in the most weird way of all the wonderful food that we've had like all weekend, our guests are still talking about the chicken fingers. So I don't know. I don't know why, but it was, I guess, they appreciated having the greasy food to kind of end the very long day, I guess, if you can put it that way.
That's awesome. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day all fit together?
Yeah, of course. So like I said, we already kind of talked about like the 2:30 start time, which was great for me. I'm a night owl. Like I do not want to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to start makeup. So it was great. We kind of, I think our hair and makeup, Stacey Otto showed up around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, I want to say. And that's when we really started the bride prep. I didn't have a big bridal party. It was my best friend and my sister. So, we had my mom and then my mother-in-law as well join us kind of for hair and makeup. So we didn't have a big party to get ready. And so that was another reason why we could sleep in a little bit later as well. And we actually opted for like a second hair and makeup person as well, just to kind of keep things a little bit quicker. So we got up around that time, and we had our first look around 1 p.m. that day. We really wanted to get like as many photos done with early in the day. So once kind of we had that ceremony, we got married, we didn't feel like, oh my God, we have to do all these chores and we have to get all these pictures. Like we loved having the first look before our wedding. I also have like anxiety. So like, no one told me how anxious I would be on my wedding day. Like, I think it's just all the anticipation. It's, everybody's going to be looking at you in your dress and you'll have a lot of tension on you. So it was nice to be able to see Matt before the wedding and do our first look and have that moment with each other that felt like really special and intimate and just kind of like calm some of my nerves of that I was feeling earlier in the day. So we loved kind of doing that first look at that time. And we did it like right outside of the Grand Floridian lobby. We did get like our stair shot as well. And then we did all of our pictures with our families as well in our bridal party. And then we had our 2:30 p.m. ceremony that led us into our cocktail hour at 3:30 at the marina. We really wanted to, we had every intention of joining our cocktail hour, but it was really hot and, the day is so fast paced. And so we actually decided to kind of have a moment with each other and enjoy a drink and enjoy some of our food and just kind of sit and just soak it up. And so I really highly recommend that. It is a nice break in the day. And then we had a reception at 4:30. So guests kind of went right from the cocktail hour, rolled into the reception. We did kind of our entrances. We started kind of with our first dance, which was really fun. And then we did, we rolled that into our speeches, our mother of the bride speech. We started kind of dinner. And like I said, we had a plated dinner service. We did kind of cute, acoustic, Disney wedding style songs while people kind of ate dinner. And that was really lovely. We did some more toasts. And after the groom and mother dance, we cut our cake and we got to dancing. So we had a little bit of dancing time. ended at 8:30, and then we were off to that after party in the marina at 8:30, and then we ended the night at 10. It was a perfect timeline. I wouldn't change anything about it. It never felt rushed, and was great. I think it was a great pace of events.
That's wonderful. So when you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
I feel like planning was like really, I'm sure a lot of people that have Disney weddings love to go on vacation at Disney. And if you know what going on vacation at Disney is like, you're probably a planner and you like planning. So I would definitely compare that to what it's like planning a Disney wedding. Everything is very a la carte. There's no like packages to choose from. Like you really are in charge of your own destiny in every single element. And I found that our Disney planner was wonderful. Like shout out Carol Mickles. And she, held our hand throughout this entire process and was so supportive during the planning process. But then again, like you are in charge of your own destiny, right? Everything you pick and you're responsible to kind of drive how you want the event and the day to look. So I focused a lot on, like, I really wanted a great guest experience. I wanted everything to look beautiful and I wanted great pictures. And I just, I wanted it to be an awesome day for not only myself and Matt, but everybody included. And so setting the right atmosphere and tone and making sure everybody's comfortable. But I would say floral and decor was a big one. I think if I were to count the emails to Disney Floral and decor, oh my God, it was probably like 200, what felt like 200. It was a difficult process getting everything I exactly as I wanted, to be kind of for the vision to really be realized. And, I didn't think that anything I was asking for was super out there, anything. It was just, getting the right flowers, getting the right colors. So we spent a lot of time, just getting that right. And, I was like, started to be Google flowers and, flower types. And, it was required a lot of research and trying to find inspiration shots that kind of matched your vision. And so I did put in a lot of time and effort into making sure everything was beautiful. But it was well worth it. Like even, walking into the reception room, like you're never really sure what it's going to look like. The room when it's empty is nothing special at all. So just walking into the reception room and kind of seeing your vision come to life and really bring the space to life, it is really, really cool thing. So me and Matt, we were just blown away, by how everything looked. And floral and decor, they were really able to execute at the end of the day. The planning process was tough. It was really tough. They put us through it. But at the end of the day, it was exactly what I wanted. So we were really happy with everything, and how it turned out. But yeah, we spent time planning every single element. It really helped having like a PowerPoint. Like I think I have like a, 30 or so page PowerPoint deck that kind of evolved throughout the process. We used it to meet with our Disney planners to kind of go through what we wanted. It included things like, cake inspo and exactly what we wanted in our cake, for the wedding. It had, our timeline, it had the room layout, all of our stationery, how we kind of wanted it laid out. Everything was in that PowerPoint, and it was really like my best friend during this process. We used it for a lot of references and helping us build that BEO out for sure.
Were there any aspects that were less important where you maybe saved your money or just your effort?
That's a great question. So a few things we ended up, like we thought we ended up cutting. I'd say transportation, because most of our guests were on Disney property and Disney has great transportation. We decided to kind of do away with the shuttle, and kind of get rid of our transportation. We decided to go with an Uber code instead. So our guests, could use that Uber to kind of use at any time throughout the weekend. And guests were really happy with that. I had no complaints there. Ubers are very plentiful on property. So that really worked out for guests. And that was an area that we saved money. We didn't do doing like a park shoot or having like Cinderella's carriage or characters. That wasn't super important to us in the grander scheme of things. Just, I don't know, the carriage, like I was like, oh, people are going to be looking at me. And it just wasn't for me. But all the brides that do it like look absolutely beautiful. So if it's something that's important to you, like go for it. But those were really some places that I think we were able to save some money and kind of not really focus our time or energy on.
Got it. So out of all of this, what ended up being your favorite memory of your wedding day?
Ooh, oh my gosh, there's so many. From the time that we like touched down on Disney property to the time we left, like everything just felt so special and magical. There wasn't like a single mistake made. Everything, was executed to a T exactly how we envisioned it. And so just so many like moment after moment. We really, really are happy we did the rose petal toss at the end of the ceremony. That was like we got beautiful pictures out of that, and that was something really fun and memorable. We obviously getting married was like the highlight, being able to kind of share our vows and have that moment in the wedding pavilion. It was awesome. It just like the fireworks were so great. But I would say really like the top highlight for everybody, including me and Matt, were like just getting everybody on Guardians of the Galaxy was like the most fun. And I know it is, in terms of like ride mix-ins, it is the most expensive. I think it's like double the other kind of rides within the parks. We're so glad we did it. Like, I think people were so blown away. We kind of stood waving at the exit of everybody getting off, and like everybody was just hugging us like one after the next. I think I hugged like over 50 people in the span of like 5 minutes. So it was like we were laughing and it was just great to see everybody smile. So that was definitely, I think, a top highlight for us.
That's awesome. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
Yeah, really funny you should ask, because I feel like I was alluding to this a little bit, but like we were really scared of St. Augustine C and D. If you tour the Grand Floridian Conference Center, it's a little outdated. Like when the HVAC system isn't fully running, it's like a little stale, it's a little hot. The rugs probably need replacing. It's not really like up with the whole Grand Floridian renovation, and it is a little bit outdated in that way. So we were a little nervous of having our reception in St. Augustine CD. We're also worried that it was going to be a little bit small. For 75 to 80 guests, it is pretty small. You kind of start to run out of room to put tables at that group size. And so we were a little bit nervous. But I remember when we did the room reveal before everybody kind of got into the reception, Matt and I were just blown away. Like with the uplighting, we did 20 uplights with like a soft pink lighting, with all of the gobos, like with the castle behind kind of, your setup. We had a beautiful altar arrangement that we had transferred as our kind of like our sweetheart table centerpiece. We did a floral arch behind our sweetheart table. We did tall, kind of beautiful, like floral arrangements for each of the tables. And it came together in such a beautiful way. Even the chargers, I know there was a lot of like consternation throughout the planning process. Oh my God, like the chargers are $11 a piece or whatever they ended up costing. But it was like everything at the end of the day was worth it, because it just like, it was beautiful and it took our breaths away. And that was one of the things that we were like, should never have been worried about. Like we should have trusted the process and knew that everything was going to come together and be okay. I was also really worried about weather. I think if you're having outdoor events, obviously every single bride probably knows exactly the feeling of worrying about the weather and not being able to kind of control that. But we statistically had a day in May that typically has very low chance of rain. So like I had nothing to be worried about. It was just, I shouldn't have been worried, but you always worry about the little things, right?
Exactly. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
Like I mentioned, having a planning deck, I think really helped us like kind of stay on top of everything, communicate. I think communication is really important. I am a corporate, I do a lot of like integrated planning, for B2B software company. So I am like, I'm very much so a type A planner. I like to communicate. I am very organized. So I think just being on top of everything, making sure that your BEO is 100% accurate. Every single line of it is important, going through it. We actually carried that. That's how we met. We hired you for kind of like a 1 hour consultation with Matt and I. And, you really helped us go through our BEO, which I recommend to all couples do. You helped us point out some of the things on our BEO that we wouldn't necessarily have thought of. Like we had an open bar package for the welcome party, but you kind of said, BOC is probably the right way to go for like an hour-long party. You might be able to save a little bit of money there. So it was great to have you just kind of helping us, even in that short window of an hour that we met, you kind of really helped us there. So just like being organized, planning, communicating your expectations, and also just, knowing that your Disney planners are like people too, right? So like always being courteous and respectful. And we just thought the team at Disney was so wonderful. They were so responsive. They were so nice to us. My planner even showed up, at the wedding. Carol was like at our wedding. Like I didn't even know I was going to meet her. And she was like helping me with my bustle. And like, so it was really, really cool. So just like knowing that, keep the Disney planners on your side, they're here for you in this process. So, always keep it respectful, communicate, be organized. And yeah, that's kind of our advice that got us through. And we had a very, very successful wedding.
That's fantastic. Well, Caroline, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World. And I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.